Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 52. On this week's episode, I'm going to speak with Mr. Brad Klepper, President of Driver Legal Plan. Now, Driver Legal Plan is a national law firm entirely dedicated to protecting the interests of commercial truck drivers and their companies. Brad's going to give us some insight on what to do when you get a ticket, what to do if you get some violations on your CSA, and how to data queue them. We've got several questions lined up for Brad, and we're looking forward to talking to him in just a few minutes. But first, before we get started, as always, let's hear from Vickie Chastain on this week's Need to Know segment, sponsored by Lube Zone.
Did you know that Oakley Trucking puts out a calendar each year filled with photos of our owner-operators and the beautiful sights that they see while out on the road every day? If you have a great picture of your truck and trailer and want to submit it for the calendar, or you have questions on how to take a high-quality photo for the calendar, email me at vchastain@bruceoakley.com. We send these calendars out to all of our customers and owner-operators. We accept these pictures throughout the year and are constantly working on calendar pictures. I'm Vickie Chastain, and that's this week's Need to Know segment.
Okay, guys, let's take a quick break and let's listen to a conversation I had with one of our owner-operators, Ken Bill, that uses Lube Zone.
I've been dealing with Lube Zone before they were Lube Zone, when they were Beeline, at least in Brookshire. They're still just as good as they've always been. Lube Zone has probably turned up the notch a little bit better. Their service is excellent. I've never had any problems with them. They've always done good work. They're professional people. They treat you good. They've got a good place there. It's always kept clean, neat. They're good people. I haven't had any problems with them.
Are they fast and pretty efficient?
Yeah. There's no messing around there. I mean, they get to it and they don't mess around. They get to it and they get it done.
How long does it normally take?
About an hour.
And what are you getting done?
I'm getting a full service on the truck alone, full service on that.
What are some of the little services that they have that maybe another place doesn't have?
Last time I was there, they changed the windshield wipers for me. They don't charge for that unless they, at least the last time I was there, they didn't. As far as I know, they were doing batteries. I think they still are there. When I was there last month, I was getting oil changed, and I was looking through their store there, and I noticed a headlight cleaner. I was asking, one of the hands was in there, and he said, yeah, that's great stuff. He says, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you buy it, I'll put it on for you. I'll do your headlights for you. He did my headlights for me, and they look good.
All right.
And I was really surprised. Yeah, but he did a great job, and he was excited about it. I mean, I told him, I said, man, you take a lot of pride in what you do. He says, yeah. I was really impressed with it.
Have you referred anybody to Lube Zone? Do you refer people to Lube Zone?
Yeah, occasionally I do. If I know they're going to be around there, or somebody's, looking for a place, they ask me if I know where a oil changing place is or something, and I can think about them. And, like they're up there on 20 in Sweetwater, I'll say, well, there's a Lube Zone up there. I've used them before. They do good work. And then the one in Houston, too, I've done before. And I I told a couple of our drivers before, I said, there's a place there, they do good work there, too.
Are they pretty convenient to get to?
All easy places to get to and get around in.
I appreciate you doing it, man, taking time out of your day to do it.
All right, not a problem.
So let's get in today's episode with Brad Klepper from Driver Legal Plan. How you doing, Brad?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing good, man. Just hanging out here at Oakley Trucking, doing podcasts. It's just fun stuff, trying to find people to get on here with me and do it. And I appreciate you coming on. And, we just visited a little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit about Driver Legal Plan and some of your, experiences you've had with, the legal system, truck drivers. And like you said, who knows, maybe a baseball, football, whatever we want to get in there and talk about. I enjoy it. But first, I had something happen yesterday. I got to tell you about this. And I got to tell our listeners about this. So I'm sitting at lunch with a couple guys, and I get a text from my wife. And are you married, Brad?
I am.
Okay, so we understand. I've been married 26 years, and I've got a wonderful, beautiful wife, Elizabeth. I get a text from her, and it says, oh, no, I my truck keys fell out of my pocket as I was flushing the toilet at work. I said, oh my, that is hilarious, a classic. She said, the plumber is on the way. I said, well, do we really even want him back? You know, Brad, I'm thinking, if he finds them, I don't even want him. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
So what she's really worried about, and you're going to understand this if you're married, she has a hair appointment at 1:30. So we got to make the hair appointment. I mean, she is calling people, that every friend she knows, to go to her house, our house, and get the spare key, bring it back to her, because we're going to make the hair appointment. It's going to happen. Somehow. So, end of the story, she called me. She's at the hair appointment. Plumber didn't find the keys, and everything's fine now. We're moving on. Hair's done, looks beautiful. Her friend Anita went and got the keys for her, because she understands hair appointments. You gotta do whatever you can do to make that hair appointment. So that was just a funny story yesterday. I had to share that with you guys so you can understand. Sorry, honey, I love you.
No, I can appreciate it. So.
Hey, what about real quick? Give us a little history on driver legal plan, if you don't care, for our owner operators. Probably everybody knows about you, but I'd like to give a little history on what's going on with driver's legal plan. Oh, and by the way, your website is awesome.
Thank you.
Man, I looked over that thing yesterday when I knew we were going to have this podcast. I looked over it yesterday. I looked over it again this morning. Got some good information on there that explains a lot, and it's simple. And that's what works for me. If it's simple, it's better. So.
Well, that's what we try to do. We try to keep it simple and straightforward. I'm a lawyer, and lawyers tend to screw everything up sometimes, but I try to keep it as simple as I can and as unlawyerly as humanly possible. But I'll give you the nickel version of driver's legal plan, a little bit about the history and the background. We were founded in 1991, 30 years ago this year. It's our 30th anniversary, by my father. My father has his CDL, and as a second career ended up in law school. Ended up being a prosecutor in Oklahoma for a while, and by coincidence, his best friend was a gentleman by the name of Larry Hill, who owned a trucking company. It's the old proverbial story of business plan sketched out on a napkin over a beer kind of thing, which actually what happened. Dad was wanting to get out of what he was doing and was wanting to do something in regards to the CDL. So he and Larry came up with driver's legal plan, the concept of it, the business model, over a beer. Been the same since then. What we are is real simple. We're a national law firm. All we do in the world is defend CDL drivers and motor carriers on anything that happens to them over the road in the continental 48 United States. I'd be happy to open up that Honolulu office, but I'm just not getting a whole lot of support every time I run that up the flagpole.
Right.
So we're stuck with the continental 48. We're going to defend them on any tickets they get, inspections they receive, and we defend them in any vehicle that they're in, whether it's their commercial vehicle, their personal vehicle, their motorcycle, their boat. I've done a bunch of boating violations. I've done one ticket received from a guy on horseback, and I've defended two guys who got DUIs on riding lawnmowers over the years.
Oh my gosh!
Any vehicle out there, including a horse, apparently, will defend you.
That was one of my questions I was going to ask you. That is crazy, because I was going to see if you've seen it all, and if there was a difference in, getting it in a commercial motor vehicle or if I get it on my lawnmower. But you explained that. You've got some. It all goes to your CDL, right?
Right. It all goes to your CDL. So it doesn't really matter what the vehicle is. To be honest, it's a little easier to explain you speeding in your personal vehicle than it is in your commercial vehicle. If you're on vacation, that's a little more palatable to the officer in the court sometimes. Yeah. If you get a ticket on a lawnmower, something's probably gone horribly wrong, and that's generally not going to be an easy one. But We've seen it all is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. Right. Is it,
So,
I'm assuming probably the hardest part of your job is being able to argue this or defend a driver in all the states. I mean, you got to have some connections, don't you, to be able to do that? Isn't that hard to do?
yes, it is. That's why I've taken a whole bunch of bar exams to get licensed in multiple states. We're licensed in the majority of the continental 48 states here. So that means we're able to handle the vast majority of our work ourselves out of our office without having to bring in a third party. The flip side of all of that is there's a whole lot of continuing education and things you've got to do to stay current to keep your license, but that's the choice that we made, and we feel it's the best. Another thing, because we're priced in the continental 48, we understand the laws of each state. If you get a ticket in New Mexico, but you're licensed in Rhode Island, we understand how the interplay between those two states as they report back all the things that happen.
Oh, so, yeah. That would be, you would have to know all that. I don't see how you keep up with all that.
Well, we've been doing it a really long time, and we stay current on all the laws. So, the rub is, and using, an example like that, or New Jersey, if you get a reckless driving or you get a careless driving, say, in New Jersey, well, a careless driving may be a non-serious violation. It may be just, hey, you were doing something, weren't necessarily paying attention. But say you're licensed in Arizona, if you just go ahead and say, I'm going to pay the fine on that careless, well, when it's reported back from whatever state, New Jersey, Rhode Island, to your home state, Arizona may not have a careless violation listed in their statutes. So what do? They think, well, careless, they clearly mean reckless.
Oh.
So they deem you for a reckless, which, as you know as well as I, is a serious violation. That all sorts of whistles and bells go off when you get one of those.
Yes.
So, that's why we have to stay current and know all the laws and know how they relate to each other, so that I can tell a driver, or when I'm working with the court, I can't do careless. It's going to go back to Arizona, and they don't have a careless. They will ding him up for reckless, and that is not what he was doing, and that wasn't what the officer intended. So we're able to, try and reach something that's a little more palatable to everybody that accurately reflects, what the driver was allegedly doing. And if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. I didn't realize that some states may have different, classified as a different violation. They may not have a careless in their state. I didn't even realize that. Huh.
Each state has their own laws and violations, and they're all different, and they don't always line up. You can pretty much count on them not always lining up. I mean,
that's probably
speeding 5 over.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say a speeding 5 over is always going to be a speeding 5 over, but once you get out of that, it starts to get a little more interesting on how things are interpreted.
That is right there a prime example of why I'm sure you wouldn't recommend a driver representing himself.
Correct. We see a whole lot of that.
Do you?
We see a lot of, hey, I got this, and I didn't think it was a big deal, and I'm just going to go on ahead and paid it. And then my company ran my annual MBR, and it's showing up that I've got a reckless. I never got a reckless. Oh my gosh, what's happening? So, they'll reach out to us. And at that point, I'm trying to file a motion to reopen with the original court and get the original ticket put back on the docket to try to help the driver out. All that can be avoided.
Yeah.
Is
that possible though, Brad, to be able to open that back up after a guy's paid a ticket?
Depends. Yes, it is possible. Of course, it's always at the judge's discretion. But you can file a motion to reopen, and you've got to have viable grounds. I didn't understand. My mistake. And if the judge agrees, they will reopen the matter. They'll put it back on the docket. Your guilty verdict or whatever you had in that court will be set aside, and you get another bite at the apple, so to speak. Rule of thumb, and there's no science based in this, but generally the motion to reopen, it's got to be within a year would kind of be my rule of thumb on how far back the court will go.
Yeah.
anything other than that, I mean, let's be honest, they probably put the folder in a cardboard box and hauled it to the storage unit. The judge isn't going to go dig through the storage unit to get your folder out. It's not the way it works.
Simply, that's simple. That's right. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So
it ain't going to happen.
Don't pay the ticket just yet.
Yeah, but that goes to show how important it is to get a lawyer that understands CDL law and how the states talk to each other, for lack of a better term, so that you're not going to inadvertently do something that's going to put you out of a job.
Yeah, because most of the time a guy gets a ticket or a violation, he's probably in another state, more than likely.
Right. That's exactly right. That's why they're over-the-road drivers.
That's right.
So,
that's right. Do you see any difference in, if you get a ticket by a city official compared to you get a ticket by the DOT or a state trooper, and reporting of that or the fighting of that, anything difference with that?
Yes and no. It really kind of depends on the municipalities. If I'm getting a citation from a city guy, some places are more understanding of CDL drivers. Some of them aren't. It varies really by jurisdiction and state by state. But yeah, there can be a difference. Generally, the DOT guys, I see a little more uniform enforcement. The way they handle things is perhaps a little more consistent, and you kind of know what to expect. When we started our company back in '91, the first thing we did was we created our own custom software. So I've got a record of almost 400,000 CDL cases that we've handled over the years.
Wow.
In basically every court in the country. So if a driver calls in with a ticket, we can get the information, what the ticket is, what the violation is, what the court city is, and I can pull that particular court up and tell you all the results we've ever had in that court. If I'm in, whatever court, Alamogordo, New Mexico, I can tell you how many times I've been there. The results and kind of what to expect and how the court generally addresses some things. I can kind of tell you what the hot button is with that court. If the court's got something they don't like to see, we generally know that. But, we're able to track that information, like I said, in municipalities and judges and officers. And we've been doing that for 30 years. So it's a great asset. It's great information that we share with the drivers whenever they call in.
That's pretty sharp. That's when you did that a long time ago and created that program. You did something right then, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we were smart enough to figure out what we were doing back then or if it was just an accident, but it sure did work out.
Right, good. So, Aero Truck Sales, great sponsor of the Oakley Podcast. We have known these guys for years, dealt with Trey, dealt with Keith up in Springfield, Missouri. These guys are solid. We have confidence in them, and that's why we recommend them to all of our owner-operators to look into them if you're interested in buying a truck. They're great for first-time owner-operators. There's no leasing. It's straight financing. They got all 5-year newer make and models. They're doing a special right now. If you buy a truck from them, you get a $250 fuel card and a CB radio. Mention that you heard it on the Oakley Podcast. The best part about these guys is service after the sale, and that goes a long ways with us here at Oakley Trucking. So be sure and give them a call. Call Keith Wilson, 573-216-6047. Aero Truck Sales, Springfield, Missouri. Tell them you heard it on the Oakley Podcast. What's some of the most common tickets that you deal with these CDL drivers that you're having to defend them?
Speeding is generally always going to be kind of the most common, simply because everybody's out on the road trying to pick up another load, get things done, make a little money. I understand that. We see a lot of, I see a fair amount of port of entry, bypassing a scale or bypassing a port of entry tickets. In the past year, I've seen those uptick. I don't know why, don't know what the reason is, but I've seen more of those. Depending on the states, I see a lot of overweights. Virginia likes to ride a lot of overweights. Indiana likes speeding,
Yes.
It's, and That's not breaking news to anybody.
No, matter of fact, Oakley knows about overweight in Virginia. For sure. I mean, that, you think overweight in most states is a minor ticket, but in Virginia, it's major money.
Yeah. I've seen a $77,000 overweight.
Oh my gosh. Did you get him out of it?
I don't care who. I got it down to 10.
There you go.
So that's,
whole lot
that
better.
is 10 still real money, but that's 67 less than 77.
Yes, sir. Very, very good. Yes. Wow.
And that's real money. So
speeding, overweight, lane change.
That's the scale. See, yeah, lane change, lane violations. We see a fair amount of. But those are kind of the biggies. The bypassing the scale, those type of things. I get it. Sometimes you're not sure if a scale house is open, the signage isn't clear, you can't get over, but
yeah,
you see those. And that, it is what it is.
And I guess
it's
probably hard to defend just everybody, isn't it? Especially with somebody that's got a history of, this is the 5th scale ticket I've gotten by running the scales. I mean, you can only do so much, right?
Yeah. All right. At some point, you got to stop.
Yeah. Right. But, I think for the most part, truck drivers on the highway are pretty sharp drivers. I mean, you see that in your daily drive to work and back. You see the majority of truck drivers are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's the four-wheelers that are, create the problems. Now, there are definitely a handful of drivers out there that shouldn't be on the road. I don't doubt that. But the majority, I think, of truck drivers that I see, going back and forth, commute to work or to Tennessee or wherever I'm going, I mean, they seem to be smart, doing the right thing, staying in the right lane the best they can. I mean, to me, so I'd say most of the people you represent are pretty good people, maybe first-time offenders.
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree more with what you were saying about truck drivers. They are professional drivers. The vast majority of them do an amazing job. I've seen some stats. I think the Texas Trucking Association, I don't remember, 5 or 6 years ago, ran some data on accidents involving trucks, and they drilled down pretty deep. And it was, it was so long ago, don't remember exactly, but I'm going to say it was 10% or maybe less than 10% of the accidents involving commercial vehicles were actually the fault of the commercial vehicle driver.
Yeah.
These guys are doing what they're supposed to. It's the four-wheelers that weren't paying attention in science class in high school to understand that 80,000 pounds doesn't stop as quick as 4,000 pounds.
That's right. That's exactly right. And they cause a lot of those accidents that happen, I know.
Oh, they absolutely do. There's scams out there to cause those accidents. And, I've raised 2 kids that drive and doing this for a living. I preached to them over the years to, these guys that are driving the trucks, be courteous, give them room. Don't you ever cut in front of one because you need to, make an exit. You just go down to the next mile and make the exit.
That's exactly right. Because they can't stop on a dime.
No, they can't stop.
What about the CSA violations? I didn't realize that you fought those or daddy queued those, and I was wanting to get a little more information on that, Brad, because I found that on your website and because that's becoming the last 10 years, that's become a major issue because companies use this PSP to qualify a guy. I mean, whether they say they're not supposed to or not, I mean, it's you've got to use all the available information out there on a truck driver to see what his patterns are with his MVR and his PSP. So, and that's a tough deal because, I mean, I know the DOT officers do a great job, but they also may not understand the whole situation with the PSPs, and they think maybe they're letting them off and not giving them a citation. They're just giving them a warning. Well, that still goes against them, and that's how do you guys fight that, or do you?
Yes, we do. We've been defending and filing CSA inspections and filing DQ challenges since December of 2010 when CSA went live. and this seems so counterintuitive, but the worst thing an officer can generally say to you is, I'm going to cut you a break and not write you a citation along with this inspection. You really do want it. There's things noted on the inspection report. You want a citation. Here's why. Again, I'm showing my age here. It's either 2013 or 2014. The FMCSA came out with the prior adjudicated cases policy, which basically said, if you get a ticket and an inspection, we'll take whatever the outcome is in the court, file it with a data queue challenge, and we will amend the inspection, your CSA points accordingly within certain parameters. So the key is, like we do, we will always fight the legal side of the matter first. Take the outcome of that court proceeding, if it's dismissed or whatever, take the court paperwork, file it in the data queue challenge to support it, and then you're going to get the relief done that way. So as counterintuitive as it seems, a lot of times getting a citation is a good thing in regards to CSA. Of course, we'll also defend the standalone where there's just a warning. We're giving you a warning for the speed, but I'm going to write you up for these, 3 or 4 things on this inspection. We do those as well. The key is, and we've got good relationships with enforcement because we've been doing this for so long, is you've got to have a good factual basis. You've got to treat it like a court proceeding the way we do. I'll attach exhibits. I'll do whatever I need to. If I need to get an affidavit from a mechanic that says, no, the hose wasn't chafed, I'll do that. I also encourage the drivers to try and take a photo of whatever the issue is, preferably with the officer in the photo, so that you can verify that is what they were looking at the time stamped, so to speak. And then maybe that with an affidavit from somebody will go to support it. What you don't ever see any success on, and I've seen drivers file these in the past, is, what I call the defense. I didn't do that. Take it off. You don't ever get anywhere with that.
Right.
You need to be able to, it needs to be factual. Treat it seriously. Do the work, get the exhibits in, and understand that, there's other options. Just saying, I want you to dismiss this or remove it totally is not the only thing you can do. Present them another alternative. Hey, I think this needs to be removed, but even if you aren't going to remove it, I think you coded it wrong. I think it isn't X, I think it's Y. I don't think it's this 10-point violation. I think it's this 1-point violation. Give them an alternative as opposed to just yes or no. And a lot of times, you can get that relief as well. You can get some agreement and buy-in in that scenario as well. And that's the way we do it and have always done it. And you're going to get more success that way.
Yeah, you're going to get farther by doing it that way. I can tell just by you explaining that, because if it's just a, hey, I didn't do it. Well, yeah, you did. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. That ain't gonna. That's not gonna get you anywhere.
That's going nowhere.
Yeah, with the PSP, and the only thing that's bothered me a lot of these years is that's a little confusing. But before this, out of service was meant you were out of service. You were shut down for like 10 hours or 8 hours or whatever it was the guy said. Well, nowadays they will write up an out of service violation. It'll come out on your PSP as out of service, but they let you go, which, doesn't make sense to me. but the driver doesn't realize he got an out of service, because in his mind, out of service means I can't move. But they still wrote up that out of service, which, acquires more points, as we know, and and also looks worse.
Oh, absolutely.
To the next company he's going to work for. So that's have y'all ever got into defending that or arguing that point much?
Yeah, we handle out of service violations all the time. Some of them are warranted, I'll be honest with you. Some of them aren't in the scenarios like you're dealing with there. And I'm like, can you really be out of service if you're rolling?
Yeah. That's my point too. That's what I was thinking.
So no, we handle those, and we've handled the, hey, I've got an overweight, and I'm I'm parking the truck. You got to park the truck until you pay this X amount, whatever the overweight fine is right now, before I'll let you move. There's very few things we haven't seen over the past 30 years.
Yeah, you guys have done a lot. Do you know, and I meant to look at this, do you have any Oakley independent contractors signed up with you?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We do have some Oakley independent contractors. So
that's good.
And yeah, if they have any questions, I believe, they can check with safety or HR on how to enroll.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a little later. I'll give you a little dog and pony on how we operate and the way it works.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. You might, I guess we can tell them where to go and the costs and stuff, or we can just tell them the website. But
Sure.
I guess our listeners know we don't offer driver legal plan as a settlement deduction. We do not do that. Now, Who knows, that may come in the future. It sure sounds like it's beneficial to a lot of guys, but I just wanted to do this podcast to get the information out to especially our owner-operators so they can go. But if they want to sign up with you on their own, what's the best way to do that, Brad?
They can come to our website, driverslegalplan.com. All the information's there. The way it works is drivers pay $2.98 a week as a legal retainer. In the event they get a moving or non-moving violation, I'll represent them from beginning to end for a flat fee of $100. That's no limitations on hours if it takes me 1 hour or 1,000 hours. And that's no exclusions on violations. I'm not going to say no seat belts or no cell phone. We defend those every day. If it's an accident that doesn't involve loss of life or limb, I'll represent for a flat fee of $250. Again, no limitations, no exclusions. And if it's anything really bad, you get a DUI or a drug or a firearm, I'll represent them. I'll give them a flat fee, give them a third discount, and represent them, again, no limitations. And those are really less than 1% of our legal practice. And, I'm happy to say that in the past 30 years, the tickets that we've seen and the way that the drivers present themselves and drive on the road has gotten so much better. You don't see many of the DUIs or any of the bad things you used to see in the years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Nobody's running alcohol anymore. Everybody's doing it right, treating it right.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I've been here since 1994, and you just see some really good drivers, good owner operators that they take pride in their job. They are professionals, and that's what you're after.
Yeah,
that's good.
And that's what you're after. That's what every carrier wants, and the drivers take it to heart. For the most part, it's a career to them. It's not a job; it's a career.
Okay, before we close out here, I have got to, I don't know if you're a fan or not, but I'm still going to put you on the spot. When we're recording this is the first day of the NCAA basketball tournament. So do you watch any college basketball?
I do. I'm an Oklahoma State guy. I don't know if you can see me. I got Oklahoma State stuff on my shelves behind me, and we got absolutely jobbed by the selection committee giving us a 4 seed. That was horrible.
You've got a good team.
Other than that, I don't have an opinion.
You got a good team, that's for sure. Y'all beat Arkansas, I don't know, a month ago, and definitely got a good ball team and a good ball player there. That's good.
I'm glad we enjoyed him this year because he's not sticking around.
Yeah, we got the same problem at Arkansas. We got one guy that's not sticking around, but it's fun to watch. I love doing the brackets and picking. So, who did you pick? Oklahoma State in your Final Four? Or you don't want to jinx yourself, do you?
I don't want to jinx myself. I think Illinois is playing really well.
Yeah.
For the Big 12, I like Baylor, even though we beat them in the Big 12. Baylor's a good team.
Yeah.
I'd like to say Oklahoma State goes it all, but
I know.
Knock on wood before I do something to jinx my Cowboys.
Yeah, I want Arkansas to do it to do well too, but I also got to be realistic on some of these teams. There's I think Iowa's going to be hard to reckon with the big man they have, and there's just some good teams. There's always a surprise that comes out of it. So Oklahoma State may very well be that team that makes it.
Yeah, I think we got a pretty solid shot at 16 and a good shot at 8.
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to go much beyond that with one superstar, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. Well, it's all cranking up today, and looking forward to it, and we'll see how good them Cowboys do. I appreciate you coming on and visiting with me today, man. I learned a lot about driver legal plan. I hope our owner-operators did too, and listened to it, and you'll probably be getting a call from some of them, and hopefully they don't get any violations or tickets they got to have you fight. But, it happens sometimes, and that's part of it. So I appreciate you hanging with us and sharing your experience with us and all your expertise. You sound like a very, very sharp man. And tell Guthrie I appreciate him pushing this, that we finally did it.
I will. I'll let him know.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brad. Okay, that's all the time we have for this episode of the Oakley Podcast. I want to thank my guest, Brad Klepper, for speaking with us today. I also want to thank our listeners for all continued support of the program. Please help us spread the word by sharing the episode of the Oakley Podcast. Follow us on all the social media platforms. If you're interested in contacting Oakley Trucking, you can give us a call. We'd love to hear from you, talk to you about leasing on with us. I'm Jeremy Kellett. We'll see you next week with a brand new episode of the Oakley Podcast. Thanks for listening.